9/11 happened on an election day, primary election day, when I was running for this very office. I had just heard that a plane went into one of the towers. I said, it's broad daylight. Couldn't that man see where he was going? I go into the school. I checked all the voting situations. Everything was kosher. And then I went towards the door to leave. It was a lockdown. Why is it a lockdown? A second plane was going into the other tower. Instantly I knew that it was a great catastrophe. The parents, in that short period of time that it took me to go into the school and come out, were all lined up on the front steps of the school. And they wanted their children. They wanted to take their children home. But they couldn't. That would have been the worst thing if there really was a catastrophe. The children were safer in school and they would have been walking through the streets. And the principal had a tough time convincing them. I went out to try to help her, and I don't want to tell you what some of the parents told me. I need to go and they want their child right away. But I understood it.
9/11, a day that I think it's safe to say no one will ever forget. I remember sitting in a classroom and one of the students had actually put on the television and seeing the smoke billowing out from the first tower that had been struck, and immediately what came to mind was an accident. I don't think anybody could fathom the idea that somebody would be crazy or sick enough or distorted enough to use a plane as a missile and use it for the destruction of human life. And unfortunately, not too much after that, everyone witnessed the other plane fly right into the second tower. Now, of course, our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers were with those who were in the towers, but I couldn't stop but think of all of the people who I know personally who work in the buildings surrounding the World Trade Center. And that was only made worse when the actual collapse of the two towers had occurred, that when we saw that billowing debris come down, you couldn't imagine the devastation that that had caused in the downtown surrounding area. You didn't know if the buildings were coming down. You didn't know who had been harmed or killed by some of those things that were actually happening that day. And again, you kind of pinched yourself, you had goosebumps, you really didn't think that anything like that could or ever would happen.
I was running for city council, and that day I thought it would change my life for the better. I never in a million years expected what would happen. I remember I was going around the polling sites and I heard that the first plane had hit. I said, oh my God, what happened? Maybe he lost control? What's going on? I heard the second one, and I said, we're in trouble, something's going on. Anybody in their right mind would realize that. And as I was going around, I made sure to go to the polling sites and tell everyone who was volunteering, please, whether they were working on the election board, volunteering, stay there and make sure our children are taken care of. They're our priority. We have to make sure of this. We were briefed, we were told that we were bombed. We were at war, so to speak. And I was like shaking my head. I couldn't believe this in this day and age that something like this would occur. And not realizing that, and not knowing actually, my campaign treasurer worked in 2 World Trade Center on the 87th floor. I never knew where Steve Lefkowitz worked. I thought he worked in Brooklyn. I knew he worked for the Department of Taxation and Finance, but I always thought he was in Brooklyn, not that he was in Manhattan. And Steve, being the great man that he was, helped guide people down the stairs and help them. And as I say, we never found even one part of him. He was blown to smithereens.
You know, I'm glad that we're here today remembering 9/11 and what happened on 9/11, but we have to remember the 343 firefighters, the police officers, the EMT workers who were running in as everybody else was running out. They were running in to rescue people. We lost a lot of people, innocent people who went to work that day as a regular day, just going to work, said goodbye to their families, and that was the last time. And those are the people that we have to remember. But one comforting thing I found was the following day, when they were changing the guard at Buckingham Palace, they played the national anthem. And it was at that point I knew that we had friends, and there were people there that were going to protect us and get us through this. And that's all I need to say. Thank you.
We all have our own 9/11 stories. We really do. Mine touched me very much. It was primary day. My friends in government will understand how important primary day is. And now Senator Dabo and I were in the car when we saw this vision. We were on Crossway Boulevard, the smoke, what was going on. At that point in time, I had some concerns in Brooklyn, right, in Bay Ridge, Bensonhurst area. And I called in and I said, what's going on? You could see from my office, you could have seen what was going on. They said, I don't know, but there's all this ash coming all over the cars and what have you. We went over to the school, Joe and I, and we saw what was going on. We kind of pitched in a little bit. Then Joe had to worry about his wife in Manhattan. I had to worry about my daughter in Manhattan. It affected all of us. We all know somebody who perished in that horrible, horrible, horrible thing that happened to us. But we are survivors. We are New York City. We are America. And the greatest thing about America is the fact that we do survive.
It's amazing because we were looking at the list and my husband found his boss, his former boss. He was in the tower. He was working for that group that suffered so many losses, that stopped. Yeah, that's right. And we didn't even realize he was working there, and he perished. And then this lovely family that live in Woodhaven, their daughter and their son perished. They were working in the World Trade Center on the top and the windows in the world. And she told them, oh, you're home from college. Come on up with me and work for the day. And they both passed away.
My cousin was he was retired now, he was in emergency services, and he was stationed downtown at Ground Zero as the chief liaison for the people who had come in to visit. And he gave me a call one day, it was a couple of weeks after, and he said, would you like to come down and see firsthand what had happened on our soil? Even though you had seen it on TV, you could not be prepared for this. As we got to the site of where the two towers stood, what you saw was the most incredible devastation you could possibly imagine. You saw a hole, you saw debris, you saw pieces of steel standing hundreds of feet high. You turned to the left and you saw the Deutsche Bank building. It was impaled by a steel girder that just stood out about 60 feet. It was truly, truly incredible.
My name's Sergeant Sean McCabe. I serve with Task Force 277, U.S. Army. I remember 9/11 was my first week of college, and when I came home, I started hearing names. Donald Foreman, Richard Allen, Ray York, Chris Santora, and on and on. People I didn't really know, but my family had known. And I knew that something was definitely missing from my family. My mother ended up taking me down to Nino's, downtown. They were serving food to the cops and firemen working down the pit. And after a few weeks, that ended. And I kept saying, I want to do something more. And against my family's wishes, I joined the Army. And in 2006, I was in Baghdad. It was something that I'll never forget. For all the bad times that happened over there, I'm really happy I got to kick the crap out of Al Qaeda. Yeah. You know. But I guess what I'm saying is, now that September 11th is Patriot Day, the day of service, that means nothing. You know, September 11th, you remember what it is, but every day, just do something to help somebody out. Walk up to a vet, say thanks, give a cake to firemen because you know they like to eat. Yeah. But that's about it. God bless America.